What's going on? It's Mr. Get off my chest. It's been a while, you know. Got some dragons to fight, mountains to climb, and all that. You know how it go. But I just wanted to round out this little mini series. I don't know how many parts I'm gonna end up doing, but how you gonna act. And this title of this is gonna be a slogan, that I thought of a few weeks back. It's called Choosing Life. All right, we worry about, you have advocates, pro-life advocates, and always worried about life in the womb. And, I would like to see that same concern for people who are so obsessed with death to be concerned about life outside the womb, for those of us who are already born and walking the earth, you know what I mean? It just goes back to that whole thing where I would be like, when you see a graveyard, a cemetery, people care more about keeping that clean and pristine. Don't stand on that grave. That's disrespectful. But go back to the neighborhoods and throw trash all over the place and write all over everything. And, it's just like, where's the priorities? But, we look at, how can I say this? Rappers now, right? We look at WWE, all right? You see these guys, when we were kids, probably all thought it was real. And then we found out it wasn't real. Kind of had a little shock from that. And then we're like, but it's still entertaining. And now we look at it, it's like, hey, look at this, you know what I'm saying? And now you got all the different specials and stuff. You see all these guys who were big rivals back in the day. There were probably some beefs here and there, but nothing like what you saw. The fighting, some of the moves are real, the slams and all that. They really do get hurt and all that, but it wasn't what we thought. Back in the old school, yeah, they used to do actual stunts and all that stuff and get cut and all that. They still do a lot of those tricks of the trade, but, we thought it was all this hate. And you see people like The Undertaker and Kane, and they talk about how they, did the storyline and how they enjoyed it and all these different things. And, they had the time of their lives, right? But we can accept that that's not real. We don't go and say, oh, man, this nigga, it ain't real, blah, blah, blah. They cap. Actors on TV and movies. We get it. They're playing a role. Okay. So now let's go to our rappers. You got your rappers from the 80s, the 90s and all these, they had these images. Who knows what they did in the street? It's like Joel Ortiz said, on beat ain't when you talk crime. But they probably did whatever, but it's probably more about hustling back in the day, less about killing like it is now. But, they told their stories. Maybe they were telling stories from a third person point of view. Maybe it wasn't their point of view. It was just, what they witnessed. They probably were shorties. Something they lived, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Some of the greatest stories told from, some of our old school rappers. And, you find out things about them now that, oh, they weren't as gangster or they weren't as this, it's like, well, they got older and realized they didn't want to spend their life behind bars or, the rock stars and the sex, drugs, and rock and roll when really they married and living in a mansion and, sitting out on the patio trying to write their next angry song or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's entertainment, but I'm going to keep it with the rappers. You find out these things about rappers from the 80s and the 90s and things like that. And they're like, oh man, they fake, they cap, they ain't real, this and this and that, They ain't really do all those killings. They ain't really do all that, and it's like, do you really want them to? So fast forward to now. And a lot of the rappers actually did the killing this time. And now it's all about the killing. And it's like a shock now. It's like, oh man, this got to stop. You got some people who just feed off of it. But for most people, it's like, this is ridiculous. Look at what this has started. Look at all this killing. I mean, there's a general falling away of spirit and a falling away of society anyway. But, with this genre of music and, the attitudes now and the lack of value of life and value of self, now it's real. Now, it's like, okay, when they talk about they doing this, they talking about something they just did 2 days ago and they making a song about it now. Why are we so shocked? So now you see what it's like when it's actually real. Unlike, like the Fuji said on their album, everybody wears the mask, but how long will it last? Now we see. Is this still what you want? You still want this real life? You still want the killings to actually be real? Because you start losing those rappers and then you can't enjoy the music no more. All you can do is enjoy what they already made. It's not worth it. How you gonna act? You know? Instead of, like, and all the snitch stuff that's coming out and all these different things, they're coming to the realization that a lot of those rappers from back in the day came to. Look, man, I'm trying to make this money. I'm making some music. This is entertainment. You can accept it with wrestlers. You can accept it with actors. Accept it with the rappers. Simply because they're rapping about a life that they might have lived, or they're portraying an image that's very close and that's relatable because it's about the ghetto and, the hood and all that stuff. That don't mean you have to go and emulate it. Enjoy the music. I can listen to every drill song in every catalog, and I ain't gonna want to go out and shoot somebody. I'm just, hey, this, they're creative with what they're saying. Some of the stuff is just like trash, and it's like, okay, they just kill, whatever. It's no creativity. Just like any other thing that I listen to or watch, it's not gonna inspire me to do anything. That's something each person has to look within themselves and wonder, like, why am I feeling like this? There is a whole power of frequency and vibration and low vibration and all that, but you have to be aware of yourself before you put something like that into your ears. And take a break, switch it up. You don't have to listen to that form of music all the time. How you gonna act? Choose life, man. Obviously you see it going nowhere. Speaking of life, I came across, I just saw this in my feed. Kamala Harris, she totally misquoted the preamble, about the whole, we're entitled to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. She completely left out life. She said liberty and the pursuit of happiness. You got to have a life in order to pursue it. But she was at a pro-abortion thing giving a speech. So she purposely left out life. So that lets you know where these people's brains are. I mean, they're going to, cater to any crowd that they can get votes from, of course. But that's the precedent that they're setting. This is in the minds of people like, oh, well, yeah, let's value life over here, but not value life over here. Life is life. Choose life. Everybody out in the street, you're on a path that's going the opposite of life. Choose life. How you gonna act? None of this stuff is real. It's all illusions. These people who made it to the top and they still rapping about these different things, obviously they're not doing it. They making their money. They're making their music. They're portraying a life that they once lived or lived around or whatever. You may not get the same outcome. How you gonna act? So that's pretty much it. Kamala Harris, she completely left out life out of the most commonly quoted lines. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Hell, even the Navy came up with a commercial. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of all who threaten it. You know what I'm saying? Either way, life is in there, but she left life out. You can't omit something like that by mistake. I'm sorry. So you see, the people in seats of power are not concerned about it. It's your life to live, so live it. Don't throw it away. You only get one on this plane. Then you have to live life on the other side. If you ain't got it all down here, how you think you're going to do it over there? So how you going to act? Choose life, people. That's all I had to get off my chest.